Hello and welcome once again to Red Game and Tech. My name is Amata. Today is the 19th of June and this time I have some news for you regarding Horizon Zero Dawn, which of course is the new IP from Guerilla Games, which was revealed at E3. As I have a couple of pieces of news for you regarding this, and the first is some comments from the art director Jean-Bart Van Beek, who has basically spoken on how there's not going to be a tutorial. When he was speaking to Video Gamer, he said, quote, "We don't tutorialise the game. We don't go and tell you how to hunt these robos or how they interact. You really have to go out there and explore these things by trial and error as well. And this will even go so far as to observing the robots out in the wild as well." Quote, "And it's the same case for learning about how the robos interact between themselves, who's protecting who and how they are all connected. You're always a little bit like David Attenborough, where he's sitting in the bushes and studying these creatures, trying to learn the behaviour and seeing how you can exploit that behaviour from them." And he also went on to say that they're not going to be talking about the story details, and they're basically going to leave you to discover the world and what happened to change it. And he said, quote, "You won't find us in any interviews explaining what the robos are, why they are there, or how they came to be. This is something the player has to find out for themselves." And then finish up by talking a little about the skill tree, about how there's going to be 2 basic character development systems. Gaining XP will grant perks, such as, say, the slowing down time mechanic that we saw at the E3 demo, and a few other bits as well. And apparently, according to him, it's actually pretty hard to hit certain weak spots without that, and the character we saw in the demo is about level 12, so it's a little bit of advanced gameplay. Now, there's also going to be a crafting and harvesting system as well, and he finished up by saying, quote, "By going into nature and defeating bigger and stronger robos, you'll get better armor plating, better weaponry, and slowly but surely you'll develop your character in a more naturalistic way." And the second piece of news is actually regarding the resolution and frame rate, as again Jean-Bart Van Beek did confirm that Horizon Zero Dawn will be running at 1080p 30 FPS using a modified version of the engine that they use for Killzone Shadowfall. And he said, quote, "It's actually still the same engine, but then there is an enormous leap from Shadowfall to this. The Shadowfall engine isn't an open world streaming world engine. For the last 2 years, a lot of technological effort has gone into actually being able to make it work like this." So there you have it. I do think the choice of no tutorials is definitely a brave one. Now, I personally don't like excessive amounts of hand-holding. Sure, tell me what jump is or whatever, and, you know, basic control movements and that sort of thing. I mean, I could probably work it out myself, but it's always just nice to go, this is how you move, this is how you do this basic, like, climbing or whatever, and then kind of just leave you to it to discover how everything else works, like the more complex mechanics, like, you know, figure out the weak points, how the robos interact with each other, you know, watching them like David Attenborough, as he said. That's cool. I like the fact that they're leaving that to the player, but I still think no tutorials is kind of an interesting move, and I think some people might get put off by that, but it really depends on how easy to pick up the game actually is. If it's fairly easy to pick up, then it shouldn't be too bad. If it's a really complex game with lots of complex mechanics, then maybe not, but we'll have to see. It really depends on how they actually execute it. Do let me know your thoughts though, guys. I'll see you next time.